welcome to this week's hashtag Toe-to-Toe. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Andy Clarke this week, and our special guest is Anthony Sims Jr. Really lovely to see you, Anthony. You are going to be fighting next week, your second fight in the UK, but not at light heavy like we're normally used to seeing. You are going to be fighting at super middle. Why? What was the decision?
My last fight I weighed at 171. So Eddie was like, you know, man, you're really light. You should just fight super middleweight. I'm like, I don't think I can make it. And he was like, you can make it. I made the decision.
And how's it been? Has it been relatively easy in there?
It's been amazing. I felt lighter. My clothes don't fit the same. Face is a little skinnier. So it's good luck.
He's very relaxed, isn't he? Very cool.
He is. I think it's a really good move because I remember that for that fight in Kansas, looking at the bill and seeing that I think it was set at 171 or 172 or something like that, and I immediately just thought, oh, this is interesting. Maybe he's on his way down, and it's the kind of move where if you can do it and still be strong at the weight, and you're obviously confident you can, or you wouldn't be doing it, then it's absolutely essential that you do it, because you'll be a big super middleweight, and in those high weight divisions where the gaps between divisions are larger, that's a big advantage, because you get a lot of people stuck between weights, don't you? Stuck between middleweight and super middleweight, and you won't be one of them.
Absolutely. A lot of times super middleweights are middleweights who can't make middleweight anymore. So I'm ready to cause mayhem, basically, in the super middleweight class.
Do we know who you're fighting yet?
Oh yeah, a guy from Spain. I can't pronounce his name, nor will I do that right now. So yeah.
Damn it, where's Andy Scott when you need him?
Yeah.
Should we crack on? This first one is from Dave Caldwell.
Oh, not Dave.
It's not a serious tweet. He says, has Anthony been working hard on that English accent?
Yes, I have. Hello, my name's Anthony. Nice to meet you. Papa Gazer Lemon Squeezer, mate.
I don't know who's been teaching you, but that's not bad. It's better than my American accent.
Who has been teaching you that?
English fans. They DM me every day and be like, here, you should talk like this. They talk to me every day. It's like as if I live here.
I love it. Yeah. Very good. Lemon squeezy. Dan says, if Anthony continues to win, at which point would he want to be in the mix for world titles?
3 to 4 fights. So I want to just continue to build my way up. Anything worth having takes time. So I want to make sure I'm prepared when I get to that level.
Yeah, I think that's realistic, because another bonus about stepping down to super middleweight is that a lot has changed over the course of the last year. The light heavyweight division is quite set, and there are some very, very good fighters in it. The super middleweight is slightly different. All 4 champions are different now than they were 12 months ago. There's a vacant WBC title being contested this weekend. There's a vacant WBO title being fought for in mid-April. So it's all in a kind of state of flux, and there's no particularly good reason why you can't make an impact sooner rather than later. The difficulty will be getting you the kind of fights you need to bring you on and get you ready for world level, because you will be high risk, practically no reward for the kind of names that you'll want to get in with.
It makes sense. I wouldn't fight me if the risk wasn't worth it. If it's not mandatory, then I wouldn't take a fight against me.
Talking of names, who is on your radar, super middle?
Eddie Hearns. I'm kidding, that was a joke.
He can't make super middle.
I was about to say, definitely can't make super middle.
Yeah, right now, not really. I say come to mind maybe Caleb Truex, but besides that, anyone that holds a title right now, they all fall within the same category, champions. They have 2 legs, 2 arms, just like me. So.
When Truex was mentioned, that face was a
Well, I was looking at this yesterday as to who he might want to try and get a fight with, and Truex is a prime candidate. He's actually fighting Peter Quillin on April the 13th. That's a good fight. That's a good fight. Either one of them would be a good fight for you. Whoever wins that is going to want to go on and try and challenge for a world title, but whoever loses that might not really have too many other places to go. And it's those kinds of fighters in those kinds of positions that you're going to need, because, as we said, it's going to be difficult to convince anyone who feels that they're on an upward trajectory to fight you, because there's no reason for them to do it. But whoever loses that fight, then you might be able to get a shot at them. I think that's possible.
It just might. Sounds like a plan.
Very cool. So that's kind of roundabout where you are now. Stephen wants to know a bit more about the end of your career. He says, which current fighters would you like to face by the end of your career? Have you got a long-term plan, or are you someone that's more sort of fight by fight?
I don't have a long-term plan, but I say I'm not specific. Like I said, when we get in the ring, they have 2 arms, 2 legs, just like mine, so it doesn't really matter.
But you must have people that you want to test yourself against.
I've been boxing for 16 years, so I've seen just about everything, anything you can see.
Who should he be aiming towards?
Well, at the moment, like I was saying, it's kind of difficult. Callum Smith is the number 1 in the division, and he's a big super middleweight too. Don't know who he's going to get next. Anthony Jarrell and Anthony Yildirim fighting for the WBC. I know that you know Jarrell fairly well. Billy Joe Saunders fighting for the WBO against Shefat Sufi.
So many coming up and down.
There are plenty coming up and down. There's Jesse Hart. You know, he's been up at a good level, at a decent level. US fighter, of course, but it's quite unstable really at the minute, the super middleweight division. But traditionally, good fighters do appear and do emerge.
You've also you sparred right with Bivol and George Groves.
I sparred with George Groves.
Yeah. So at this stage in your career and everything, that's got to give you a lot of confidence going forward that you can mix with the likes of those people.
Yeah, it will. Like I said, I had a taste of the greatest super middleweights that are in the division right now. So I'm like, well, I might just hop in there and take a chance.
He's a hard man to get any information out, isn't he, Andy?
Yeah, he is. He is. He keeps his cards close to his chest like any good magician. But you've done loads of good sparring. Gilberto Ramirez is another one. I believe you've done some work with him. So you've done your reconnaissance missions in the gym because you had a long period where you weren't all that active. But in terms of getting out under the lights, but you've not wasted any time at any point, which is pretty crucial, really.
Absolutely, I have a gift, so I make sure that I put it to use because it can be taken at any time. So.
Absolutely, wise words. Let's move on then to the press conference that everyone is talking about. Of course, the one that happened yesterday in New York between Anthony Joshua and Miller. Firstly, what was your impression from that press conference?
Like, you gazer, you just push Anthony Joshua, oh my God.
Really?
No, really, I was like, you just push Anthony, he's a nice guy. I feel like you don't do.
Did you not think something like that was going to happen?
I thought it was, but I didn't think that he would actually do that. Like, I know Miller personally, I don't really know Anthony Joshua personally. So I didn't think that he would actually go out there and push Anthony. He's a nice guy. You don't do things like that to just nice people.
Do you think we're seeing Miller's true character?
Possibly. You never really know who a person is. You don't know what they're capable of. Like, I didn't think Anthony Joshua would get mad,
What did you take on it? What's your
Well, it was
opinion?
interesting over the summer, wasn't it, when Miller gate crashed the DAZN launch that Joshua was at, holding all his belts.
It's been bubbling, isn't it?
And it's been bubbling, and he forced the issue there. He said a few things that cannot be taken back. And I think for that reason that Joshua has been happy to reciprocate. I mean, the push was, I don't know, it was a bit low rent, I thought. As soon as somebody stands right in front of you before they've even really got a chance to do anything, just to immediately push them away. I mean, what would your reaction be if somebody did that to you?
I'd be upset.
You seem very calm,
Yeah.
but there is a line, and you can't allow yourself to be pushed around.
It's a statement of intent, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as fighters, we're very territorial. The last thing you want to do is, be pushed on national television and not be prepared for the push at that. So, I don't agree with the gesture at all.
You almost feel like he wanted to set the tone of that. That is how he wants it to play out.
I want to set the tone, but at least let the other fighter, be aware that you're about to set this tone. Anthony Joshua was in the process of walking up to him when he got pushed. He was shaking hands and had his head turned. At least wait till he gets face to face and then do a little push,
Well, I think it's fair to say that Anthony, he looked a little bit rattled, didn't it? A little bit like Miller was getting under his skin. Jess says, was it about time Anthony Joshua lost his cool and stopped playing the nice guy? Do you think he's just played the nice guy?
No, I think he actually is a nice guy because that's a long time to be an actor. And he's a boxer, not an actor. So everybody, gets upset, gets angry. It's just especially when you're in front of press and you're a role model, people don't expect you to be upset or angry. But it happens. We're human.
What do you think? Do you think it was fair play? Or did we see a little bit of the mask slip? What was it?
I wouldn't say that he's been wearing a mask, Anthony Joshua. I think he does come across as a nice guy. Like you, I don't really know him. But these are fighters we're talking about at the end of it all. You can be a gentleman outside the ring, and that's fine, but this is business. And when you go to a press conference, that's business, and you cannot be seen to give ground. You can't just let someone push you around and not come back with something, unless you are one of the statesmen of the sport who's been ruling supreme for a long time, in which case probably no one's going to try it on with you. But I kind of like seeing it from him, to be honest with you, a bit of bite, a bit of edge, because Miller's obviously determined that this is not going to be the Anthony Joshua show. It's New York, it's where he's from, and he's not just going to turn up to press conferences, hold his coat and do what he's told. But when somebody brings that to you, you have to whether you like it or not, if somebody steps to you as a fighter at a press conference, you've got to at least stand your ground.
There's ways to go about it, though. You know, guys do the same thing to me, and I like to turn it into a joke. I'd rather crack jokes than try to take things offensive.
So you would have just kind of laughed it off and brushed it off?
Well, I'm witty, so I can put my words together and offend you without trying.
How well do you know Miller?
Miller, I know him pretty well. We talk here and there. I messaged him right after. I was like, why'd you do this?
So you're friends and...
We're Instagram friends.
Really? Okay, well, what was the response?
No response.
No response?
Just read.
I'll tell you what, because Dave wants to know, do you think was Miller's shove the sign of a man who's scared?
Is this David Caldwell?
No, this is not David Caldwell.
Okay, I was about to say, man, the question.
At least I don't think it is. It just says David, but I'm sure it's not David Caldwell.
Okay. And you said what I think about the shove?
Yeah, do you think it's a sign of a man that's scared?
No, Ali, he talked a lot of trash to hide his inner feelings. This may be him trying to hide his inner feelings, or either try to get Anthony Joshua off his game. So you really don't know.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right that he's trying to get him off his game. He's trying to get him into that ring, make it personal, and see if he can throw him off his stride that way, in much the same way that Dillian Whyte did when they first boxed, because he didn't really box to a plan that night. Joshua, it all got a bit kind of, they took it to the street really in the way that they went about it, and that's definitely what Jarrell Miller will want. And I'd say he's pretty good at that kind of thing, to be honest. He's well practiced in it, he's well versed in it, and if he can get under Joshua's skin,
which it's been a long time since we've seen anyone really get under his skin.
Yeah, if anybody can do it, I think I rate his chances. I think he's got a decent chance of doing it.
So he has a better chance of getting under his skin than winning. That's fine.
But getting under his skin will maybe give him a better chance of winning.
Hey, boxing, anything can happen.
Who are you picking?
Anthony.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Just moving on to the last sort of couple of tweets, talking about mental health, and I know this is something you feel very passionately about, and it's something that you really sort of push outside of the ring. Omar wants to know, you are very vocal about mental health issues within boxing and life. What do you do as a boxer when times are really bad for you mentally?
It's crazy you asked me that question, because I want to ask you guys if I could say something as far as that.
Sure.
It's okay to feel like you're not okay. It's okay to not be okay. But what it's not okay to do is it's not okay to keep it inside. So I suggest you to talk about it to someone, anyone. And adults is watching this, parents, if you deal with children, or just in general talk to people, make sure you let them know it's okay for them to express their innermost feelings to you. Because once you do, you feel a lot better. More than likely the person you're talking to will have the answers for you to feel better, conquer your fears, go after your goals, and go about life.
It is such a massive topic, isn't it? Especially at the moment. I mean, within boxing, we've heard from the likes of Tyson Fury, who's really been speaking out about it, and people who can relate to what he's going through and has been through. I think it just shows as well how much boxing is helping people in terms of mental health problems and using it as an outlet as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think one thing that boxing has maybe not received as much credit for as it should have done down the years generally is that people have this idea that it's a very kind of closed-off, macho, gung-ho sport where it's these incredibly hard men who will never show any emotion, and it's just not really like that. I think boxing as a sport's always been pretty progressive when it comes to these kinds of issues, because it's so difficult, it's so hard. And really the only people who know what it's like are the people who actually do it. So how is it within the sport? I mean, you've not been in it, well, you've been in it kind of all your life, but as a professional you've not been in it that long. How open is it in terms of discussions that may be had in the gym between fellow fighters even, or does that need to wait for a lot of them until they've hung the gloves up? They don't really want to show any weakness.
Well, in this case, a lot of people are like professional boxers. We're taught to be strong and holding our emotions, and deal with whatever comes, not knowing that really ended up hurting you. So a lot of fighters, you see them lose it, or career goes south a lot of times because they're not expressing how they feel. And I think it needs to be done. A lot of times fighters wait until boxing's over with to try to confront their issues, their problems, rather than doing it right then and there.
I guess I always say, conversation makes change, doesn't it? The more you talk about it, the more it's out there. I'm sure we will talk about more of this in the podcast as well today. Our Lindo wants to know, what is the most critical aspect of the mental side of boxing?
I say belief. You have to believe in yourself. So you can have all the skills, you can have all the heart, but if it's not here, then it won't come to fruition.
Is that something that you've worked on in terms of, do you work with someone else to help with that?
With my mental?
Self-belief, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I said it. The mindset of being a champion doesn't come overnight. It's a process. You have to build yourself. Sugar Ray Leonard didn't become Sugar Ray Leonard overnight. Ali didn't become Ali overnight. It's a process of break down, build up your mental, your spiritual, your physical, but mainly your mental.
The mental side of things is so important, isn't it? Because you can be amazing outside of the ring. You can do it your spars. You can be amazing on the pads. When you get in the ring, you can get a pot, as it were. It's massively important, isn't it?
Yeah, I've always thought the kind of holy trinity for a fighter is self-belief, confidence, whatever you want to call it, guts, and ability. If you've got all three of them, then you're on fire. I mean, you're absolutely flying. But probably the most important one of those three, I would say, is self-confidence. If you had to pick two of the three, I'd say it'd be self-confidence and guts and heart. Ability is a whole other thing, because you could have as much of it as you like, but if you can't apply it when you really need to, if you can't bite down when you really need to, if you don't really believe you're going to win, then, to be honest, it's fairly obsolete. Self-confidence, real self-belief, can take a person an unbelievably long way.
And it's also easier said than done.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking much more about this, I'm sure, in the podcast, along with all the other news. So make sure you join us for that. You can download it on iTunes, which will be available later today. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.